Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today. You may remember this particular machine. Gallopin Autosports and Henrik Fisker designed this machine, being the Thunderbolt. Now the trick is they built this on the underpinnings of the Aston Martin Vanquish. Now the trick is Aston Martin knew that they were going to build this machine, but were under the impression the vehicle was going to look quite a bit different than the current Vanquish. Well, when this car came out, Aston Martin got upset and ended up suing Fisker and Gallopin Autosports. Well, great news. Aston Martin has dropped their lawsuit against Henrik Fisker, but it has come with a casualty. That casualty being the Thunderbolt itself. Henrik Fisker and Gallopin Autosports will no longer produce this particular machine. Kind of sad, but I guess we really didn't need two versions of the Vanquish out there. I guess. Next up on the list, Rolls-Royce showed off this particular machine. This is an odd bird. Rolls actually sent this out to all media outlets, and right off the bat, it's a large Rolls car. It sits kind of high off the ground, and look at that massive rear spoiler on this machine. But you start to look a little bit closer, and Rolls gave out some little hints about what this machine was, told exactly what it was actually. Look at the rear door, it's quite short, and yes, this is the brand new chassis, suspension, and four-wheel drive train that's actually going to go underneath their brand new sport utility vehicle. Now, I'm not 100% sure what that huge wing's all about, but this is basically on-road testing for this machine. Now, this is a weird situation because usually companies will do this, build an automobile like this to test a lot of suspension parts and whatever there could be to test, and they'll put a current bodywork over the top of it, that way to keep prying eyes from knowing what was going on. Rolls-Royce thought this to being absolutely opposite and decided to send everybody photographs of it and tell them exactly what's going on. I guess maybe just to keep buzz about that new SUV up in the papers. So, pretty neat piece of kit. Maybe they'll end up building this one day. Maybe they should probably drop the rear wing. That's not very Rolls-Royce-ish. Next up on the list, the Nurburgring Nordschleife loop. There's been a situation that happened about a month ago. In fact, if you like the Facebook page, I put up the video up this about a month ago. There was a tragic accident. There is a big parts of this track that the cars become very, very light. They become airborne in some situations. And with these modern day GT3 cars with mostly flat floors, once the car comes off the ground, it takes off through the air. And that's exactly what took place at the ring. This vehicle got into the air, went through the catch fence, and into the crowd of folks. Now, at least 5 or 6 people have been injured, and 1 fatality happened in this particular situation. Terribly tragic, and what I'm going to talk about next is in no way, shape, or form putting any lightness on what happened there at the ring. I'm not trying to make this make light of anything as far as this is concerned. I just think there is a better way of getting around this GT3 ban, which has now been lifted. In fact, the Nurburgring Nordschleife loop plans on, in fact, mid-May or late May, there's going to be the 24 hours of Nürburgring race that's going to go on, and these GT3 cars will be allowed to run. What they're going to do is they're going to create speed limits. Speed limits happens every place where the car gets a little bit light, and they vary in speed. And that big, long straight on the certain part of the course is actually going to now have a speed limit of 155 miles an hour. Now, apparently, they're going to have some way, shape, or form of monitoring this situation to make sure these vehicles stay within this parameters. I have a different situation. I look at the Nordschleife loop as being, well, it's a pre-World War II racetrack that has no runoff areas in a lot of places and is not real suitable for high-speed racing. I think you need to keep the high-speed racing there, but you need to section it off like a World Rally Championship stage. If you've ever been on the stage, a championship stage of the World Rally, what they do is they send out several cars out ahead of them. There's some ambulances, some fire crew vehicles, and at least a pair of recce cars, being reconnaissance cars, that'll come through blaring sirens and whatnot, and they'll actually stop and move sections of the crowd, especially if you've got big, high-speed sections, 5th, 6th gear corners, where you're going in a corner like this. All these people need to be gone from that particular situation, because if you got a car trucking down the road and all of a sudden it loses brakes or anything could go wrong, it could spear off into the crowd. I think that's what needs to be done at the Nordschleife Loop. The sections, the high-speed sections around the outsides of corners need to be cordoned off in some way, shape, or form. Whether you put up high chain link fence, whether you go in and put up just basic snow fencing or whatnot in these areas. This is, I think, something you need to do a lot better. Now, this is a temporary fix. We'll have to wait and see what they do. They're talking about changing the course itself, which I think would be terrible to do. Again, I'm not making light of the fatalities and the serious situation that happened in that incident, because it is a tragic, tragic incident. But I think moving forward, there's a way better way of doing this that could keep people safe and keep the racing on the facility's course. Next up on the list, Jeremy Clarkson's in the news again because after not signing his brand new contract with the BBC, basically told he couldn't sign this because of the whole situation with punching the producer and all this stuff. And in a little side note, this poor producer apparently has been getting death threats, also has been getting a lot of lawsuit accusations. Listen, I'm sure the folks, you guys who watch this particular program, are not in on this action. And if you are, please stop this, because this kid did absolutely nothing wrong. If you want to yell at somebody, yell at Mr. Clarkson, because Mr. Clarkson is pretty much, well, he's entirely 100% at fault for the death of Top Gear, at least as we knew it. But if you want to get your Jeremy Clarkson fix moving forward, guess what? He's going to be on the BBC. In fact, later this month, the month of April of 2015, he's going to be on a television show that's called Have I Got News for You? Yes, Mr. Clarkson will make an appearance on this particular program. Now, this being said, too, some other news came out about Mr. Clarkson. The police investigation over the whole fracas between him and the producer came out, and there are no charges going to be filed. The producer himself said that he was not going to press any charges against Mr. Clarkson, that this was basically a situation that didn't need that particular deal. Again, the whole deal itself, the punch and the 30 minutes that Clarkson yelled at this guy, how can you yell at someone for 30 minutes? It just impresses me to no end how this could even happen. But sad to say Top Gear is over, but we'll keep you in tune to what happens with the program. Not only Top Gear, and with Mr. Clarkson, Hammond, and May heading into the future. Now let's go back to said show being Top Gear. Yes, Andy Willem, who actually sent out a letter, actually an email, to a bunch of the folks that worked in the Top Gear franchise, thanking them for their work. Now, that was a lot of people thought that this meant that Mr. Willem would be leaving the program and leaving BBC as well, but apparently that might not be the case, at least not as of yet. Mr. Andy Willem has actually been working on the Top Gear shows that were still left in the can. In fact, he claims that they've got enough to do 2 of the 3 remaining programs. Now, there's a little bit of an issue because you don't have any presenters anymore. None of those folks work for the BBC anymore, which means that pretty much you can't put these together. Now, I don't know if they may put them up in a montage or something. It would be great to see some of this footage they've already shot, but you just can't link them all together without having the in-studio parts. Not to mention the pair of fellows who were supposed to be in the reasonably priced car. So this is a situation that may come around or may just end up on the old interwebs for all of us to enjoy later. So we'll have to wait and see, and I'll keep you in tune if I hear anything. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump on over to the Facebook page, links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.